Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is, wherever you are. Thank you for listening once again to the Backlog Busting Project. My name is Wes. With me, as always, is Randy.
Let's get this over with. I got a game to play.
Yeah. Alright, so we'll just get right on into it. We're going to start right off with that game Randy is talking about, Player Nay. Fallout 4 releases today, November 10th. Developed and published by Bethesda, coming out for PS4 and Xbox One. As we speak, Randy is currently wearing his fucking Pip-Boy from the Special Edition,
yes,
so that should probably answer a few things right there.
I have it on my arm, it's ready to go, but listen, I'm not one that usually is, defending PC players, but it comes out to the PC, too.
Yeah. Oh, PC, yeah.
Don't forget about those guys.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, it's the one version that it's not completely breaking down on day one, because, it's a Bethesda game, and that's what they do. But yes, it's a play. Again, I had the Pip-Boy on my arm. I'm ready to go after this podcast. We're going to play some Fallout 4, do some special stuff for you guys on the YouTube channel. I'm ready to go.
Alright. So, a little bit of background in case you've lived under a rock for the last 5 years. Fallout 4, of course, is the latest in the post-apocalyptic RPG series. This time you're exploring the Boston, Massachusetts area after the bombs fell. So, it seems to have a lot of emphasis on customization and crafting this time around. So, I loved the Fallout games from me doing my playthrough earlier this year on the project, so it's probably going to be a play eventually for me as well. Maybe not for a little bit, because I don't really have the money for it right now, but, all things in time. So, yeah, both of us are going to definitely be playing that. The next game up, maybe a bit more of a little bit of a lukewarm reaction, I think I'm going to say on this one. Rise of the Tomb Raider, developed by Crystal Dynamics and published, of course, by Square Enix. Also releasing today, exclusively on the Xbox One for the time being, will eventually be coming to the PlayStation 4, and probably also PC. And that right there is one of the main reasons why I'm a little lukewarm on it, because I still just don't understand the logic behind making an Xbox One exclusive.
Money.
Well, yeah, but they probably could have made more just by multi-platforming it.
Not true.
But, so this is the continuation of the storyline from the 2013 reboot. Apparently, Laura's a bit more confident in herself this time, and also wants to, restore the good honor to the Croft name. So, she goes out to, finish what her father started, in a search for a relic. And, from what I've heard so far about this game, it's, builds very well in 2013 reboot, and I do eventually want to play it, but, when it comes out for the PS4.
Well, you gotta get a PS4 first.
Well, yeah, but...
so here's the thing. It's not a lukewarm thing for me. I absolutely want to play this game. I will play it eventually. It's just a matter of money anymore. I still haven't even gotten around to buying Metal Gear Solid 5, which I was super excited for. Because I was waiting for this Fallout 4 release, because it got me super hyped at E3, and I knew it was going to take a chunk out of my wallet. But yes, Tomb Raider's an easy play for me. I loved the reboot original. I liked some of what I have seen from this one, and I'm ready to play it.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty then. So moving right along into a game that's basically going to put the cap on a storyline, an overarching storyline, almost 17 years in the making now. That's StarCraft II: Legacy of the Void, also releasing today, because holy Christ, what in the world? This release schedule is getting insane nowadays. I don't know what Blizzard was thinking announcing Legacy of the Void for today.
Do these guys not remember, the 4 months where we were going, let's talk about this weird Vita game that no one's ever heard of before.
Or hell, they just had BlizzCon. They could have, released it as kind of the BlizzCon festivities, just been like, hey, BlizzCon's this date, and oh, by the way, Legacy of the Void's out, or will be out. Because they did announce this a few months ago. Mm-hmm. But, it's the conclusion of the StarCraft II trilogy of games, basically. and also kind of puts a cap on the storyline that started all the way back in 1998 with the original StarCraft. So, I've been a fan of Blizzard games for a while. I still have yet to beat Wings of Liberty, much less Heart of the Swarm. I played the hell out of StarCraft and Brood War back in the day, so I'm definitely going to play Legacy of the Void at some point. I just have to get around to playing Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm first. So it's a definite play for me, though.
Not a play for me. I've played a little bit of the original StarCraft game. I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of game, the RTSs and I remember as a kid I got into Age of Empires a little bit and thought I was decent at the game until I got the internet. And played it against people that are really, really good at the game.
Yep.
But it's just one of those games, I see the appeal of it. I mean, the strategy aspect of it is great. It's just one of those things, the learning curve is very steep in my eyes, especially if you're trying to play it online, of trying to figure out, because there's
what counters what, yeah.
A straight strategy you usually want to follow, one of many.
Yeah.
And it's very time consuming. I totally get why people love it. It's just not for me. So it's a nay on my side.
Well, I'm playing it more for the story at this point. I long ago gave up on trying to be any good at the multiplayer. Way back even in the Brood Wars days, I tried to start playing and I was just like, nope, I'm boned. Check please. Yeah. Although I completely understand where you're coming from with it too. So, last but most certainly not least, we're going to go to a different kind of, galaxy, we'll say. Star Wars Battlefront, releasing November 17th for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and PC, I believe.
Guys, stop it! My wallet, guys.
Developed by, DICE and published by EA. This is, of course, the long-awaited, Star Wars Battlefront game, basically. It's a team-based first-person shooter, or third-person shooter, excuse me. Where and in this one, you basically go into iconic moments in Star Wars history and, play them out. Like, there's, the attack on Hoth, and, a few others that I just completely blanked on because professionalism. And then you can occasionally, if you do well enough, you'll occasionally get the opportunity to become a hero of either side, like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. I believe they also announced Han Solo and Boba Fett on the Imperial side. I watched some footage of the beta when it was going on, and I kind of liked what I saw, but again, I'm not much of a first-person or a third-person shooter kind of guy. Even though I really want to play Overwatch just because Blizzard, but Star Wars Battlefront to me just kind of it's a cool setting, but I'm not sure I would enjoy playing it all that much. So I'll go very, very weak play, but I'm not going to be rushing out to go get it.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest shooter fan. I think we've talked about it a few times, like the Call of Duties and stuff, where it's, it's not quite our thing. I did play the beta, when it was out, and I had a good time with it. I think the graphics are phenomenal. It's one of those first games that I've went, okay, we've now reached next gen. It usually takes a while for people to kind of figure out the next systems, and it's this was the first game where I went, okay, we're here. We've now arrived. Very beautiful, but like most person shooters, I am at the average to below average range, I think, as far as hardcore gamers. I'm sure the average Joe I could beat, but if you're playing online, I usually am sitting 6th or 7th of a team of 10. Just trying not to lose.
Right. Yeah.
Just trying not to lose it for the team instead of winning, and it's enjoyable. I'll probably buy it at some point, but I'm with you where it's not huge on my list. It's out of these 4 games we're talking about, it's probably 3rd.
Yeah. That would probably be about where it is for me too, honestly. Really same reasoning here for me. I'm just not very good at them, and I like the setting, but So that'll about do it for Player Day for this episode. We are going to just move right into our games for this episode, and that's going to start with the co-played game, which you guys voted on as, this is an episode close to Friday the 13th. We switched things up a little bit. We each selected each other's games, and then we had the vote for you guys to determine our game. And the far and away clear victor of that vote was Donkey Kong Country, released November 21st, 1994 on the Super Nintendo, developed by RareWare and published by Nintendo. This is kind of a very iconic platformer, and like I said when I was doing the candidate platforms, I was kind of surprised it was eligible to be a co-play because, I knew I had kind of missed out on a lot of decent stuff in the era because I was so busy playing like Sonic and Earthbound and RPGs and whatnot. But I would have thought you would have played this for sure.
I sadly grew up as a Sega kid.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. My bad.
So I had missed out on a lot of great Super Nintendo games at the time. I have played Donkey Kong Country, but never gotten around to actually finishing it. So this was a great way for me to finally sit down and put it to bed and get through it. And let's just say I absolutely love the game. I love platformers in general, and this one is a very good platformer. But I don't know if I've said F you Donkey Kong more in my life as I have in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Diddy Kong all the way. God damn it.
Join us next episode when we play Diddy Kong, or Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. But anyway, I had played a little bit of 2 and a little bit of 3, but I don't think I'd ever played much of 1. So it was a little weird for me because, I was expecting things that they put in 2 and 3 to happen in 1, and I was just like, well, shit. Because
well, you say that. My girlfriend is a huge Donkey Kong Country fan.
Mm-hmm.
So she is sitting there watching me play this all the time and telling me to do things that I can't do. And she's going, oh, that's in the second one. She's telling me to do all these little tricks and stuff to get through levels as I'm getting the evil eye. To get through stuff. That's the problem of going back and playing through backlogs at times, especially with games with sequels, especially if you've played the games, like some of their sequels before. It's like when we did Crash Bandicoot.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Crash Bandicoot 2, and then you go back to the first one and you're like expecting one thing, and you go, oh, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for her, it was an unlearning curve while I'm trying to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you had the same problem.
Yeah, well, the main two things I noticed were I was expecting to be able to throw your co-op, the other Kong up. You can't even throw them, period, much less throw them up.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the first thing she told me to do at one point. Just throw them. What button does that?
Yeah. And then, the other thing was, I, would constantly, like, the first couple times there was an animal companion, I would try to get them to the end of the stage, because I remembered every stage that I'd played in 2 or 3, or, it might have been 3, but I think it was both 2 and 3. But you'd get an animal companion to the end of the stage, there would be a no companion sign that you'd pass, and it would get rid of them, and if you got them to that point, you'd get, like, a coin, or, an extra life balloon or whatever. And so, first couple of levels there was an animal companion. I would, fight to try and get them, keep them to the end of the stage and then be like, I didn't get shit.
Yeah.
But, I actually, contrary to recorded evidence, if you've been watching the Twitch stream, I actually, once I wasn't streaming, didn't have too much difficulty with this game outside of the minecart levels, or, I say minecart, auto-scrollers. Anything with an auto-scrolling element in Donkey Kong Country, I was just straight up boned. Like, the minecart, the first minecart level, Minecart Madness, I think it is, just, I could not for the life of me get the timing down on that. For the first couple times I played it, the later, track levels where you're on that little track device that automatically moves, I had difficulty with those, keeping on the damn thing.
Yeah, I find myself on a lot of those where, like, you're learning as you go as how the level's going to break down. And, like, you get to a point and die, and then you go back, and then you make it a little bit farther, and then the next thing you know, there'd just be something at the beginning that would just be a thorn in your side, and all of a sudden you couldn't get by that, and you're just like,
oh yeah, I had
come on. So then you're like, you finally get by that one part, and then you go,
what was I supposed to do again?
10 feet farther than you've been, and you die, and then you go through the whole thing, which is fine. I mean, I absolutely love that kind of stuff, and, the challenge of it is great, and whatever. This brings up, like, one of the few complaints I'm gonna have for this game, and, well, there's two, but they kind of go together. The save point system to me is broken. Because once you go into a world, you're stuck in that world unless you get to the
funniest flights, yeah.
Yep. So once you start, you either get to a save point, which is usually 3 or 4 levels down the line, or if you lose all your lives, you go back and you start that whole sequence over again, which adds a whole lot of stress for those first few levels. But once you hit that save point for that world, or the flight monkey, then you can go anywhere and save, and then the next levels is like, okay, if I die, I'm just here. If I die, I just have to keep working on this level. Lives don't mean anything. So, I mean, that's, I guess, the one problem is, lives, for the most part, don't matter. I mean, like, the beginning of each world kind of does. But then they make lives mean even less, because if you stop playing, your lives reset. Because I remember playing the first few levels and ending up with, like, 14, 15 lives, and then stopping and coming back and only had 5.
Yeah.
And I could have really used those 15 lives when I hit a couple stages that struggled. So it was like, I would have been totally fine if it was, you could only save halfway through a world and then at the end of a world. Just to keep that struggle and that stress kind of building. But it seemed off when it's the first part of a world was very stressful, trying to get through 3 or 4 levels, and then once you hit that save point, it's like, okay, stress is gone, now I can just kind of power through it, and whatever. So it was like, I wish they would have went one way or the other with it. I don't know how you felt. But.
Yeah, I blasted through a lot of the game in one sitting, actually, so I didn't really have too much of the issues with the save system, because after I got past the stages I was having problems with on Twitch, I literally just sat there and played the rest of the game through. So I never really had an issue with the save point system to that point, because I went into Gangplank Galleon with like 12 lives and ended up using most of them. But I could definitely see where you were having a problem, because you didn't do it in one sitting like I did.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's a problem. It's just it's an uneven level, I guess. It's an uneven stress. Like, I had no listen, I mean, you've seen me play, and we've talked about it several times in this podcast, that I'm a yeller. I get into game. Like, if I'm getting into a game, I'm going to yell. Yeah. And then everyone's like, oh my god, he hated it. And I'm like, no, that was great. It's like, if I start going off about the mechanics of the game and just, like, I know you love Earthbound and stuff, but that's kind of why I had struggles with it. It's because my brain all of a sudden started focusing on some of the mechanics that were bugging me with it, instead of getting frustrated with maybe a difficult boss or something. It was whatever. But I sat here and would just yell and yell and yell, and I'm just, it's like, God, I know I just have to get through these first couple levels, and then it's a cakewalk. And I loved getting that worked up. And then after that, it was just, I could sit back. And I mean, I basically put my feet up and not even try. I'm sure I died 3 times more often than I should have after that, because I just didn't care. So it was just one of those weird, uneven flows of the game, I guess.
The gameplay to me wasn't all that, was pretty damn well polished.
Yes.
There was very few times where I felt it was the game screwing me rather than me just being, off that day.
100% it always felt like it was me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like I was saying earlier, like where I was saying F you Donkey Kong, I'm sure it's so sophisticated that Donkey Kong doesn't jump as high or whatever, or as far. But there were just points where I would hit a jump with Donkey Kong, and then the next thing you know, I wasn't making that jump.
Yeah.
or I'd get used to using Diddy Kong so much because he's faster and jumps higher and stuff, and then I'd mess up and be stuck with him, and it's like, oh my god, just go.
Yeah. I actually didn't really explore the differences between the characters that much. I will say probably the majority of my time was spent as Diddy.
Yes.
But that wasn't like a conscious choice. That was just, I died once as DK, played as Diddy, got DK back, and I was just like, meh, screw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious. I mean, you said you played a little bit of the second and third ones. I don't remember if I've ever even touched them. Is that more of an emphasis in later games as to who you control?
When I say played a little bit, I mean like literally
just a little,
bit, and like when they came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. I mean, obviously, I think we're going to get to that at some point.
Yeah,
where we play those two,
Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Triple Trouble, I think it is. Obscure subtitle memory. Go. Anyway, but I literally, my experience with that was renting it from my mom and pop rental store in my little podunk town of Kamei. Yeah.
Look that one up, kids.
Yeah. But, for like one weekend, and, like, badly Xeroxed, instruction manual and all, I don't really remember too much of it, apart from the fact that I know I had played it at some point.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. So what did you think of the bosses in this game? Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's kind of the sad point. It's like most of these levels were so unique, and like even near the end of the game, they were throwing new mechanics at you that you just had not seen, and I loved it. From turning the lights on and off to getting the weird rock monster dudes to roll up in their ball so they don't destroy you, to the different versions of the minecart style levels, to all of that. It was all different, and it all felt unique. And then you get to the boss level, and it was like two different versions of a gopher that you jumped on, and then two versions of a bird that would just kind of poke its head out at you, and a barrel that was like, okay, here's all the enemies you fought so far.
Yeah.
Here, just beat them again.
Yeah.
So I think the bosses were a little disappointing.
Well, I liked the bird bosses, and I liked K. Rool.
No, we'll get to K. Rool. K. Rool to me was better.
Yeah. But the bird bosses I felt were just the right blend of, jumping on, easy but challenging. I guess that doesn't kind of make you get what I'm trying to say though here, right? Where you can grasp the mechanic of the boss, but it's still going to be a bit of a challenge to beat.
Definitely not overcomplicated at all.
Yeah,
but when you can only get hit twice, sometimes, well, I guess you do get a DK barrel right at the beginning. So you can only get hit twice in it, so it adds a little bit of skill to it. But yeah, I get you where it's like, okay.
Yeah. Whereas the gopher and actually we're forgetting one. The bumblebee was a pretty decent fight, I thought, because the one where the bee, you have to pick up the barrels and hit it with the barrel and then avoid it while it's pissed off at you.
You're right.
Yeah, that one was actually pretty good. Now that I think about it, but so I guess I'm going to change my answer a little bit, because that right there is the majority of the fights now that I've said. Oh yeah, I was okay with them. Yeah. So, I'll change from an to, yeah, they were okay, I guess.
To, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so let's get, K. Rool, obviously, the final boss of the game. I'm changing his name right now to K. Troll.
Yeah.
They got me on it. So basically you get through two sections of this boss and he falls over and the credits start to roll.
But then you notice they all start with K and have Kremling names.
I didn't even notice that. I just set my controller down. I was like, okay, I did it. And then he stood up, and I had to grab my controller, and I ended up dying that one time and beat him the next one, but it was like, oh, we're playing this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it.
I think they pulled that in 2 and 3, too, to an extent.
That's funny. It's great. There's some good humor in it. Obviously, in the ending credits is pretty funny with the Cranky Kong and
buddy
stuff.
Times, yeah. But yeah, it definitely has you can definitely see the makings of like the Rareware sense of humor that they would like cultivate throughout like the Donkey Kong Country games and then Conker's Bad Fur Day. Not so much Perfect Dark because that was kind of them trying to be serious for once, but that rare cultivated. Well, actually going all the way back to like Battletoads because that was rare too. Yeah. But
sadly, I mean, obviously it's a Nintendo thing. Donkey Kong Country not on the rare replay thing that I got, but yes, you see a lot of that humor in a lot of the rare games that are in that collection as well. Also, a good game to have if you're an Xbox One owner. Yeah. Lots of good oldies on that thing.
Yeah. Music-wise, what did you think of the music?
Love the music.
Yeah.
Music was absolutely phenomenal, especially for the Super Nintendo. I will say, however, Donkey Kong Country kind of has that different look than most Super Nintendo games.
Uh-huh.
This was one of those few Super Nintendo games where I went, it looks old. Like, I think that's why the Super Nintendo to me is the best system, because most of its stuff doesn't look like it's aged. It's so crisp. You go back and play Super Mario World and everything's just, all the colors are crisp and stuff. Donkey Kong Country at times tries to go the more realistic way. And I don't say it never looks ugly, but it shows its age at times, kind of like the original PlayStation does, where it's like, okay, some things aren't as crisp. Like, the rain falling down, I'm sure, was cool when the game first released. Now it was just a hindrance, and it looks a little meh at times. Again, I'm not saying it's ugly. I'm not saying I'm like going over the top, but just with how crisp some of these other Super Nintendo classics are, like you go back and play Link to the Past, you go play Super Metroid, like the colors are such standout stuff. This has a bit more of the bland side to it. So it was just something I noticed.
Well, once I listened to you explain yourself a little bit, I will retract my previous statement because I was about to go. I was going into this thinking the exact opposite. That that it really hadn't started showing its age yet. But I'll grant you your concerns there though, because now that you explained yourself a little bit, I can kind of see where you're coming from.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it looks ugly. I'm not saying I probably came into it in the wrong fashion of it's saying it's showing its age. It's just, it looks a lot different than most Super Nintendo games, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those eye-jarring things where it's like, oh, this is not like other Super Nintendo games. Yeah.
So one last thing I want to kind of touch on real quick before before we move on to the next like our games, like our individual games. And that is an observation that I've kind of touched on a couple times already, and that is, I have been trying to Twitch stream a bit more often recently. Kind of got sidetracked. I've been having some technical issues with that, but one of the things I did was I tried to play through Donkey Kong Country on stream, and holy shit, I got stuck on the same 2 levels for 2 days worth of stream scheduling, where I played these games for at least an hour and a half of my stream schedule, my 3 hours each day, and could not fucking pass them for the life of me.
Well done, sir.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though. These 2 levels, I would, I stopped streaming the last time I streamed Donkey Kong Country. I took a little bit of a break away from the computer to regather my thoughts, and then I went back. I went back to the Super Nintendo, and I restarted the game without streaming, restarted the game, and then within 2 or 3 tries, both levels are down. And then I just went, well, okay, I'll keep rolling. For some ungodly, unknown reason, hitting the start stream button on Open Broadcaster software just completely sapped my ability to play Donkey Kong Country. I was just like, what the fuck?
So, is that your excuse on Mario Maker, too?
No. Okay. Mario Maker is just me being awful. But, for some reason, Donkey Kong Country, I'd stop streaming, and went back to play it without streaming, and did just fine. And it's weird, because I can't even say at this point that it was, I had stage fright, because we didn't really have that many viewers.
Yeah.
I mean, I was I was splitting my concentration a little to talk to them, if they were talking back to me, but it was just like, So, hopefully we'll be doing a bit more of that as time goes on here, streaming, our gameplay on other stuff.
I will say, as this one releases the day, I did attempt to play the Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor game earlier today.
Which is your game for next episode,
yeah,
spoiler alert.
We'll get to it. And I don't know if I just didn't set it up right on the Xbox One, but I remember my girlfriend looking on Twitch and not showing up. But it would say I had viewers at times, but it would go from 4 to 0 to 6, like instantaneously. It would be, okay, they all left. And then like 5 minutes later I had 6.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know I had 1. So I don't know if something was goofing up there or if I set it up wrong. It didn't end up showing up on my personal Twitch account. I'll try to get it set up, linked up with the Backlog Busting one at some point if I could ever get it to work the way I want. And then I'm sure we'll be streaming all sorts of other stuff. We did stream
Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes,
which is one hilarious game. Very stressful. We had a good time. We played it for, almost 3 hours and didn't kill each other. So that's a positive. Yep. But look for more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just something we have a good time with, and
including like Jack. At some point, we want to try to do Jackbox party packs games.
Just
that sort of thing.
Just to interact with some people a little bit more and have a good time playing video games. Because that's, obviously that's our passion and that's what we like to do.
Yeah. So, that will about wrap it up for Donkey Kong Country. I'm sure at some point we'll be trying to do 2 and 3. I don't think we'll have to, I hope it won't have to wait for another audience vote, but, you never know. We have, we'll probably do this kind of, fan vote thing, for each Friday the 13th episode, so that means the next one's not until some point next year. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that, backlogbusting.com, Twitter, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. And, should be fun. Moving on now, I guess we'll go into my game, which was chosen by Randy for me. It was Limbo.
You're welcome.
Developed by Playdead Studios, released July 21st, 2010 for the Xbox 360, the PS3, and I can't remember if it came out on PC off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it did.
I'm sure it did.
But
I think I've seen it on Steam shelves and stuff.
Yeah. So this is a side-scrolling platformer, very atmospheric, kind of artsy game.
Very artsy game.
Yeah. And I am not sure what to think about this game.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because the thing is, you basically start the game and you fade into this this grayscale landscape, and you don't have control of anything for a good 30 seconds or so, and then finally you see the lights of your character's eyes basically turn on. I know they're human, but I'm just going to say it. Turn on. Open. And he gets up, and then you're just kind of left to your own devices. There's no, button interface prompts. There's no hand-holding whatsoever, and, you just kind of have to explore, keep going right and explore and figure things out for yourself. And the thing is, as I was doing this and, kind of going through the levels and I'll admit, getting frustrated at a few of them, I found myself going, what do people see in this?
How? How do you not see what people see in this game, Wes?
I just didn't find myself all that impressed by, any of the platforming or the puzzles. It was pretty standard platform fare. There's absolutely no storyline to speak of. It's all, kind of, oh, hey, look at how artsy we are. It's literally boy goes right, finds a girl, and then credits roll.
Okay, so you hate Super Mario Brothers.
No, I don't, because
that's exactly what Super Mario Brothers is. Boy goes right, finds a girl.
Yeah, but Super Mario World kind of has freaking charm to it. This game just feels like oh, hey, we have Grayscale World, and
this is depressed charm.
Ugh. This game never really grabbed me by any stretch of the imagination.
But you liked Eco and Shadow of the Colossus?
Well, yeah, because they at least vaguely hint at something going on.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. More than Limbo does.
Eco, you're a kid that's stuck in a place. They never explain why. You find a girl.
That's already more than you know about Limbo.
You're a boy and you're there. You don't know why, but it's a good platformer. This is not a game that needs a story. It's a good platformer that has great atmosphere. Yes, it is in black and white, but they use that to their advantage for some of the challenges. And it's not like at the end of it they go, you should really care about these people. He finds a girl, you don't know if it's a sister or his girlfriend or just some random girl, and that's it. Who cares? It's a great platformer from start to finish. There's not one part that you're like, well, that mechanic didn't work.
I don't know if I want to say didn't work, but I'm sorry. Some of the timing puzzles were just fucking stupid.
You mean were difficult to you, and you got frustrated with it because you couldn't do it?
No, I mean they're fucking stupid.
Okay, explain to me why they're fucking stupid.
The one in particular I'm thinking of, very late in the game, there's a minecart sequence. At the end of the sequence, the minecart hits a switch that electrifies the rail above it.
Mm-hmm.
That sequence is way, way, way too tightly tuned. By which I mean, you have to be standing on the exact perfect pixel to be able to hit that jump and get over the rail before it electrifies.
So, okay.
And here's
so I'm going to go back. No. I'm going to go back because we're going way back to episode 2 where I broke you, right, with Hotline Miami, and your defense about why Hotline Miami you didn't hate it just because it was difficult to you, but it was a bad game in your opinion, was because it had randomness and it was all about luck and chance. And you would play a game like Super Meat Boy where it's so finely tuned and difficult, but you knew it was always you if you died. So now here's Limbo doing that exact thing where you have to do the exact jump, and now you're mad that it wants you to do the exact jump.
The reason why I'm mad at Limbo is because that jump is the only one in the game where I feel like it's pixel perfect. The rest of them, you all have room for error.
But you said it's the end of the game. It's the difficulty rises. Correct?
Correct. But what I'm trying to say is like, every other jump in the game, including the ones after the rail cart jump, have some wiggle room. This one is, if you do not land on the exact pixel, or stop the cart at the exact pixel to be able to get up onto the rail and run, you're fucked. The rest of them, if you screw up, you still have at least a little bit of a chance to save it.
So
this one is, you screw up,
jump,
die.
Wes. It's a difficult jump. That's like saying an RPG sucks because it has one boss that kicks your ass more than the other ones. That's what you're saying.
Why do I even get into these arguments with you?
Because you're wrong. First you complain because a game does not... It has luck-based stuff, which, oh my god, how dare they? And then you want... Because you want a finely tuned game. Here's your finely tuned game. And then you piss on it because it kicked your ass in apart.
Alright, maybe I'm going about it wrong, but it doesn't change the fact that this game is bad to me.
Bad?
Yeah. I sat there and, the puzzles were just, okay, I could go play Brothers for some of these puzzles. Like the spider, for example.
This came out before Brothers.
Okay, but,
So if we would have played this first, you would be complaining about Brothers stealing the same thing. This came out first.
No, I wouldn't be complaining about fucking moving the goalposts on me all of a sudden here.
You can't say, well, that's like me saying, well, I didn't like this one part of Earthbound. If I wanted to play that, I'd play Final Fantasy X. Like, I never made that argument once. I just didn't get into that world. That was my argument there. I didn't get into
I'm
the
saying I didn't get into the world of Limbo.
No, you're saying if I wanted to do this puzzle, I'd go play this game that came out after it. That's exactly what you said.
I'm saying I didn't. I'm trying to say that if I wanted to play a good platformer puzzle, there are so many other options to choose from in 2015 that I'll go play them instead of playing Limbo, because to me, Limbo didn't do anything to drag me into wanting to do platform puzzles. A lot of these mechanics are found in other games, and yes, the example I used for the spider boss fight was Brothers, which came out afterwards. Fucking sue me. But the rest of this stuff could have been found in other games before Limbo. Yes, I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now.
Suck at platformers. We've gotten through this. This is episode 20-something, 22? 21 of, this podcast. And I have learned in 21 episodes that you suck and hate platformers.
No I don't, because I like Donkey Kong Country.
But you didn't finish Crash Bandicoot. And you sucked for 2 days on Donkey Kong Country, and I have video proof.
You won't in about 28 days when Twitch deletes it, sir.
I'll find a way to record it. But listen, okay, I mean, obviously, different feels, different takes. I respectively understand why you didn't get into it. I understand there's no story, and I'm not one of those guys that go, oh, but it's a brother finding a sister. I don't know what it's about. I don't break into those games. What I liked about Limbo, and I'm totally fine, I'm flipping you shit and teasing you because it's fun, and, that's what we've done for years. That's why we thought it would be fun to do a podcast, because we push each other's buttons sometimes. But this, just to explain to you why I thought maybe you'd be into this game, it's because the way that, Limbo's way. You said it took you about 3 hours to beat this game?
Probably somewhere around there. I wasn't timing myself, and I did it in 2 or 3 sessions.
So, the length of Brothers is not very long, and Brothers does a great job of making the story change and making you really feel about those characters. In Limbo, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel bad that you gruesomely kill this boy over and over and over, and it's not afraid to show gruesome death. I just it was the progression of the puzzles, where it's like, it never feels like, okay, here's chapter 1, here's chapter 2, here's chapter 3. It just I don't know what chapter 3 is, but it just smoothly moves on from different parts. It's like a platform thing where you're moving, boxes around, and then you have the spider section, and then you're meeting the people and trying to get through them, and then there's the gravity section and all of that. So I liked how it just kind of smoothly moved through and slowly progressed, where it's like, you go back and play the beginning and you're like, well, the ending was nothing like it. But it never felt like it was like, oh my god, this is a completely different game. So I like the progression of the gameplay as much. Again, no story. I wasn't expecting you to fall in love with the world, because there isn't one. I mean, I'm sure there are people, and I've seen some that really try to break it down. Yeah. I mean, those are probably the same people that try to break down Five Nights at Freddy's as this whole thing, which I can get into a little bit, because, Scott Kaufman does throw those storyline hints in there for you to kind of feast on and all that. But it was just, I didn't realize you were going to hate platforming as much when I picked this game.
It's not that I hate the platforming, it's just that I was going into it expecting, I had heard going in that Limbo had, a great atmosphere and a great kind of, story almost. And I was just
you heard wrong there.
Yeah.
I would have never said that. The atmosphere, I mean, it's just different. And I guess, you take it away playing it, when did it come out?
2010.
5 years ago. So, we've had a lot, indie games have kind of had a boom. Yeah. In the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Limbo was near the beginning of this kind of stuff, and it was, at the time, it was very different. And nowadays, there are, like you said, there are lots of games like this. There are lots of games that do the black and white like this. We played one. It was called The Unfinished Swan. So, we've played stuff like that, so I will admit I can now see, 5 years later playing other games where it's like, oh, it's just another one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will hear it there. But I did play this when it first came out and absolutely fell in love with it because it did feel different and it was kind of like an old school platformer, which is what I grew up on. So.
Now, this is kind of going to get into hindsight is 2020
yeah.
kind of backfilling experience of today into the past, know. But even if I'd played this at release, I probably would have had a lot of the same issues. I probably would have been like, this is a platformer. If I wanted to do some of this stuff, I could go play, Platformer X. I'm still struggling to think of other platformers with these same kind of,
But the platforming is good in this game.
It is. I'm
and the puzzles make you think at times.
I'm not saying those are necessarily bad things. I'm just saying I feel that other games execute it better, and there's no reason for Limbo to be as well regarded as it is. Because when I first booted up Limbo, and it was dead quiet except for the white noise, and it was black and white, and I was like, oh, oh boy. When I started to realize there wasn't much in the way of music or hand-holding or, the kind of game stuff you come to expect from games.
I'm sorry
button
there's
prompts.
No Navi here for US.
Not as bad as Navi, but, at least,
I have to go to the extreme in my argument, sir.
Press A to get up or whatever. Sort of stuff. You get what I'm trying to say.
Well,
even Brothers had a press the button to interact sort of thing.
But I'm okay with games not hand-holding you at times. There are some games that, to me, are great like that. It's you exploring the world. It's you trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. That's why this game doesn't have a life counter. This is why this game has 900 billion checkpoints. Where, there are some where it seems like it's a bit longer than that, but, you die, you go back 5 feet.
Yeah.
And you attempt it again. It's not you die and you just lost 20 minutes of progress.
Yeah.
It's a trial and error, and you are trying to figure out the best way to solve this puzzle, and your consequences are minimal, and that's what I liked about it. It's you just trying to explore things. It's you trying to figure things out.
See, if it were presented that way, if it were just, go to point A, from point A to point B, do these puzzles sort of things.
It is. Go ahead,
It isn't, because they shoehorned that thing in with the whatever that meaning is at the end. They shoehorned that in, and it's hard for me to articulate, I guess, okay. But,
so
I just don't...
I understand, because you right now are
If
doing...
it were a series of challenge rooms, I'd be okay with it as kind of okay, this is a nice little test of platforming skill. But because it's got this, black and white atmospheric atmosphere, holy fucking shit. It's this atmospheric, you get what I'm trying to say, atmospheric experience where they're, going, oh, look at our grayscale, and look at, listen to our white noise instead of a soundtrack, sort of thing going on.
Well, because to me, that's them trying to be different. You're looking at it, was a word being too artsy. We don't need music in our game. It gives it a different feel. Now, I understand where you're coming from as far as the meeting at the end. Mm-hmm. From what I remember of the ending, it's just you seeing her, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's it. To me, that allows you to interpret whatever the hell you want there. To me, that's why I don't like Shadow of the Colossus' ending. Because you have no idea who the girl is the whole time. You have no idea what the hell is going on. And at the end, they want you to care about them. And then they have this whole cutscene wanting you to, care about all these people. This is the first cutscene you've seen in the entire game that lasted more than 5 seconds. Care about them. And in Limbo, it's just like, there's a girl. And at that point, you let your mind, which, if you're frustrated with the game, you don't let your mind wander. We've been over that with me in a few games or whatever. But if you have allowed yourself to just kind of get lost in the world that they are presenting in whatever way you want, you interpret that ending in different ways. And I think that's very beautiful and it's not here's a game. All of a sudden, here's a story for you. It was just, there's a girl. And then you let yourself interpret it however you want. I mean, to me, that's the difference between how you were reacting to the ending of Limbo to me reacting to Shadow Colossus. Because we sound the same right now, but I don't think it's warranted.
I have no idea how to respond to that.
Good. I win the argument then.
No. I just meh. Agreed to disagree. And
No, it's fine.
on.
Like I said, I mean, I'm sad that you didn't enjoy the game. I honestly picked the game thinking you would. This was a fun argument. I mean, because obviously we're not going to like the same games. People are not going to like the same games. If we ever got people to listen to this podcast, there would be several people that would agree with me, and there would be several people that would agree with you. And that's what I love about video games. There's so many of them out there that we all can love something.
Well, I just want to say, it's not by any means an absolutely terrible experience, but I'm not seeing why people fell over themselves so much.
So, okay. So, I mean, this is why I'm saying I totally get you, because that's me and Earthbound. It was a good RPG, but why did I spend $200 on the goddamn thing? It's
because we didn't have it back in 1995.
Exactly, but you know what I mean? Because it's got that cult following, so you're like, oh, this is going to be completely different, and then it's like, it's alright. And I think that's kind of the same thing with you at Limbo. It's like, if I just handed you Limbo and you'd never heard anything about it, no critiques, no awards, nothing. I just handed you this game and say, tell me what you think. You probably would have got done with it and went, that's an alright game.
Yeah.
But then you go, it's an alright game, and you look at everything, best game ever, what a great platformer, just original and iconic, and you go, this game fucking sucks. I don't agree with any of that.
Yeah.
So no, with that, I totally agree. I think I see where you're coming from, where you're going, it was alright, but it doesn't deserve the high accolades that it's gotten, and I'm going, I liked it.
So, sorry, I just had the moment of we're having a nice tender little moment here, and I'm just sitting there like I'm sitting there.
Are you sitting there trying to figure out how to mess it up?
No, I'm sitting here going. The editor in me wants to like just end this conversation with "Why can't we be friends?" playing
soft violin music.
But
hey, we've reached an understanding, I think, and that's good.
All right. So, now that we've had our tender little moment there, let's move on.
No, I'm just glad I got you to finally admit that it was an okay game. I'm okay with that.
Moving on to Luigi's Mansion, which was the game I chose for you. Released September 14th, 2001. Well, that's an unfortunate release date in retrospect. Developed and published, of course, by Nintendo. On the Gamecube.
Yes.
So, the floor is yours.
It's an alright game.
Okay then.
Alright, let's move on.
News roundup, let's go. We've got Mario Maker and Fallout 4 to do.
Okay, so Luigi's Mansion, I had played just 20 minutes of it once. Like, when I had reacquired a GameCube and it came with, I had Luigi's Mansion in the bundle or whatever, I turned it on. Never really given it a shot. So I was really interested in trying it. You know, it's one of those launch titles, and I'm a Luigi fan, so, you know, this is big thing. I've heard mixed reviews on it. And I kind of understand both sides. It's a different style game than what you would expect, like a Mario to be. Because you're going around, it's kind of like Super Mario Sunshine, I guess, where it's you and the Professor dude is kind of the same as Sunshine. It might even be the same guy.
Actually, I believe it is. I believe it's Professor Egad does both the flood in Super Mario Sunshine, and then he's got he gives Luigi his ghost busting vacuum in
the Poltergeist 3000 or whatever it was. So that was, I mean, it adds a different style of gameplay to it. So basically, you go around painting a picture, or people have. Basically, the people have come out of the paintings and are haunting this mansion, and you have to go around and suck them back up. There are other ghosts in there, and then after a while, there are 50 boos in there that you have to then suck up and all this stuff. The problem is, it does get very repetitive. There's not much to it. This game is like 6-7 hours long. And other than some of the painting bosses throwing a different element to it, every one of the 50 boos is the exact same, except maybe a higher HP counter. And the last section of this game, because basically you're working your way through the mansion, and then the last chapter of the game is like, oh, you got a key up in the 3rd floor. Oh, you beat that room. Here's a key to the basement. Oh, you beat the room in the basement. Here's a key back to the 3rd floor. And it is a journey. I mean, it's not like 10 minutes or anything, but it's like, oh my god, going through the mansion that I have completely cleared of ghosts, boringly working my way back and forth. So the last couple hours are a little rough. But I like the charm of it. Some of the bosses throw different elements. Like, there's, I think they're twin little kids that, like, are shooting stuff at you. There's these toy soldiers that, anytime there's, like, more than one, it's difficult. I also like that there is a small challenge to figuring out how to first make them open up. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you have to just wait for them to do a certain action and then, your vacuum will work on them. Or you have to grab something and shoot it at them. Or, like, there's a dog, so you have to trigger a skeleton and suck him up, and then you have the bone, and then, he gets distracted. There's all these different things that really kind of put a small puzzle aspect to it, which was nice. But, other than those, it's, like I said, all the 50 boos, which I missed one at some point. I went through every room again and could not figure it out. So there's a hidden room somewhere that I just missed. But I got 49 of the 50 boos. They're all the same. And it seems like near the end, and this is a tip for anyone that wants to play this game, clear a section and then go after the boos. Because basically, if you clear out all the other ghosts, the room, you'll get your alert sound and a treasure chest will usually pop up, whether it's your normal ghosts or your boss ghosts that you have to do to clear this room. You do that, you hear the noise that it's cleared, and then after a while you get a radar that will start blinking if there's a boo in the room. And then you go up and you find where the boo's hiding, it pops out, you try to suck it up. Well, if you have unlocked one room and then the room next to it you haven't been able to unlock, the boo will just leave the room. As you're sucking it up, he's trying to escape, and he'll go into that room, and what it wants you to do is leave that room, go into that one where he's now hanging out, and continue the process. Well, if the room's locked, you're just boned, and you have to wait. And it seemed like near the end, where like the boos would have 300 hit points, I would get 20, 30 in, and he'd go to the hallway, which was down 2 rooms and out to be able to get there. And then you'd be in the hallway, which is narrow, so you'd get 5, and then you'd go back to that old room. So it was just that same journey. And nothing is going on for 10 minutes but me just trying to accomplish this task, which was tedious, because it's a launch GameCube game. They're getting used to having dual sticks, basically, with the C.
Yeah.
I guess it was a C stick?
Yeah.
Is that what they still called it?
Yeah, they still called it the C stick.
Getting that component right so the controls are a little off. I wouldn't say they're terrible. There are times where I cuss them out just because of the tediousness. But it's never a game that's too difficult. It's never a game that's like it's going to wow you, but I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. The final boss is fine, where a Boo is now, or King Boo is controlling a giant Bowser robot, which I struggle with at first because the mechanic is it shoots these spike balls at you, you suck one up and then shoot it at it. For whatever reason, at the first couple tries, I he shot it at me, I went, okay, this is what I have to do, and I don't know if my angle is wrong or whatever, but it would not pick it up. So I'm like, okay, that's not it. So then I spent like 4 lives going, oh, this is a Mario game, it's Bowser, it has to do something with the tail, like Super Mario 64. I'm like, okay, you just have to suck up the tail. And it does a great job because you go back there and he swings the tail and drills you. It's like, no, it's not like Mario, you idiot. But, like I said, it's an okay game, especially for a launch title for the GameCube. I didn't... There's not one where, like, I'm not excited to play the 3DS game that just came out for it, but...
No, just, but...
Well, it's a year ago or something?
It's like, I think it's like 2 years old at this point.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, time flies.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ. But it's not one where I'm like, oh my god, Wes, why did you make me play this game? It's just one of those, it's there. And it was, oh man, I don't know how many times I can say it's an okay game without just saying it's an okay game.
Yeah. Basically, you're like me with Limbo, except I didn't have any strenuous objection to start a conversation.
No, I mean, because it's not like, if people love this game, I can see why, because of the charm. And some of the ghosts are very charming. It's me trying to get all 50 boos was tedious, I guess, is the nicest way to put it.
And by the way, sorry to interrupt, but I did look it up. Dark Moon, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon released on March 20th, 2013. So yes, It has been almost 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Old. I mean, like most of this project.
Yep. But, so I remember I chose this game basically kind of just randomly looking at your shelf. Because it kind of gave me...
suck at picking games.
Yes, I do.
Not that you picked a bad game, just getting you to pick something.
Yeah. But for the Brittle Floss song was on my mind. And we'll kind of go back to it for one question I do have. Is it really just that one song?
Yes. Thank you, because I meant to bring it up at the beginning and kind of waited and forgot. It is one song. It is only one song. And when the song is not playing, Luigi is humming that song.
That's awesome.
Which is kind of adorable, because then I start humming that stupid song. And there you go. But you bring up a good point, and it was a point I brought up to you just randomly after the podcast 2 weeks ago. This might be the first podcast where we reviewed 3 games, all that have a song by Brental Floss.
Yeah.
And they're all good. If you don't know who Brental Floss is, he does video game music where he adds lyrics to basically theme songs of video games. They're usually really funny. Sometimes vulgar, but that's Brental Floss for you. I'm a big fan, and yes.
And sometimes they aren't all that funny because he gets stuff wrong. But
well,
Phoenix right. Sorry.
You can't be perfect. Okay. He got Luigi's Mansion right.
Yeah.
It's one song.
That, and he somehow managed to rap as an elderly Japanese man, so, kudos to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, I mean, it's there. I mean, especially for... when you go back and look at the history of launch titles, there's not that many great ones, and this will just fit into the... Yeah, it was alright. I mean, I think it deserves a little bit more attention than it's ever gotten. Maybe not one of the absolute best GameCube games that were ever out there, but it was one of the good ones.
Okay, so, that'll about cover it for that. Let's real quickly talk about our games for next episode.
Fallout 4.
Unfortunately, not quite.
Okay.
Our co-played game is going to be Twisted Metal for the PS3.
Yeah, I'm actually excited. Like, I remember when I was younger, like, 11, 12.
Let me clarify. Twisted Metal as in the reboot that David Jaffe actually did, not Twisted Metal Black.
That's what I'm saying. Definitely not that one. But I remember playing the original one, and I remember playing the second one, and then it was about the third one that came out where, my interest kind of waned. But I played a ton of the first 2. So
I think my only exposure to anything Twisted Metal related was, I think I remember... Sweet Tooth, I think his name is.
Oh yeah, Sweet Tooth is the main guy.
Yeah, Sweet Tooth had a cameo, I think, in one of the Vigilante 8 games.
That I would not doubt it in the least. And a lot of those kind of games had cameos.
Yeah, and I just remember him from Vigilante 8 for some reason.
No, I played so much Twisted Metal 2. I had beaten that game with every driver in every scenario. Got all the secret stuff and. I played the piss out of that game. So I'm excited to play this reboot and see how it is. Hopefully I like it as much as I like the Tomb Raider reboot.
Yeah. I'm not exactly, I played a little bit of the car combat games back when they were a big thing. This is going to out me as the wrestling fan that probably people already knew I was. but one of my main experiences with the genre was WWF Crush Hour.
Oh, jeez.
The People's Champion used the Twisty Rockets.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to see that game on this project. Maybe on a stream.
Yeah.
We've completely lost it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both going to play Twisted Metal. I have already kind of announced that I will be playing the Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor game, which I have played about 2.5 hours of already for the stream earlier today, and very much am enjoying it. I love, so far, the way the orcs kind of have different hierarchies and how bad it makes you feel when one of them defeats you, and you find out that there were 3 of them near you, so they all leveled up.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, and I'm starting to get used to the mechanics and the world, so I'm excited to talk about it in 2 weeks.
All right. So my game is a little bit on the interesting side, simply because it kind of follows the pattern I've been doing for most of this year. In that, it's going to be the start of a series for me. And by series, I mean, yeah, kind of. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in future episodes. But another reason it's interesting is because I'd completely forgotten that I was going to do this game. And apparently my subconscious knew that I was going to be playing this game because I've just been in a PS1 JRPG mood.
Perfect.
Recently, because I've had some issues with my internet. I've been without internet for a bit, and in the downtime, I just randomly decided to start playing Chrono Cross. And Randy got a hold of me one day, and he's like, "So you ready to play Suikoden?" Which is my game for next episode. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm playing that already?" Because I knew we had it planned, but I thought it was 1 or 2 more episodes down the line.
Yeah, the end of the year is running quick. We got 3 more episodes after this for the rest of 2015.
Yeah. So apparently my brain was just like, oh, hey, you're going to start playing some PS1 JRPGs. Let's play Chrono Cross.
Picked the wrong one.
Yeah. Well, based on the project, yes. But
and also, I mean, I've never played Chrono Cross. That will be one of my future ones for this project. But
yes, I'm very interested to see how you react to Chrono Cross if you enjoy it, if you like Chrono Trigger, which...
I've gotten to the final boss of Chrono Trigger. Never beaten that one, but I've gotten to the final boss. I've played quite a bit of it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I enjoyed Chrono Trigger. It's kind of right there with Final Fantasy VI for me, where it's like I really enjoyed them, but it was like I got to them after, so it wasn't like you with Earthbound and stuff, where it's like, oh my god, this is great, because I got into RPGs too late.
Yeah.
So going back to those, I missed the charm of them, and whatever. We'll get into that. But
well, I almost did too, because, I actually got to Earthbound a few years late. It's just I didn't have internet to realize I was a few years late.
Yeah. Gotcha. But I played...
By the time I was playing Earthbound, Final Fantasy VIII was out.
But yeah, but I played the first Suikoden, and I'm excited to hear what you think. I'm curious if you're going to get all of the members of the crew.
Probably not. We'll see how my free time goes here, though. So yeah, that's our games for next episode. Hopefully you'll enjoy those. Real quickly here, any news stories you wanted to cover before I go into the event I want to talk about?
No, go for it.
Well,
I've just been following Fallout 4 bugs, which we all expected to see.
Yeah, because Bethesda.
Yeah.
But the one main event I wanted to talk about, because I am a raging Blizzard fanboy. BlizzCon happened last week, or actually this previous weekend, and they actually had quite a lot of new content announced. Not necessarily new games per se, but well, I suppose you could argue Legion, the World of Warcraft expansion, because they dropped a lot of information on that hadn't been really revealed before, and they dropped the opening cinematic. They dropped. They're going to be releasing it in summer 2016.
They need to be more careful with their stuff. They keep dropping it. Thank you.
Be here all week, folks. Try the veal. But they're going to be starting Legion's beta here in now, the next couple weeks, which I kind of found interesting. it kind of speaks to they are trying to speed up the expansion schedule a little bit. I mean, it'll still be this will be about a year and a half after Warlords of Draenor launched by the time Legion launches, but that's still respectable. They announced a new adventure for Hearthstone called the League of Explorers, which looks interesting, even though I haven't really been playing much of Hearthstone. Overwatch, they announced will be going to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which surprises me that it didn't really surprise me. Because I don't really think they mentioned anything about the Overwatch being coming to consoles, but having seen the gameplay of it on Twitch, they definitely could bring it to consoles, and I think it would do pretty freaking well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then the last main thing I kind of wanted to talk about, because I think it's absolutely freaking hilarious, is they have their MOBA Heroes of the Storm, right? And they did introduce some new heroes they're planning to do. And one of them is Cho'Gall from Warcraft. And Cho'Gall's gimmick is he is a two-headed ogre. They are literally going to have Cho'Gall be controlled by two players. One will control movement, and the other one will control attacks.
So they have been watching a lot of Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter, watching Gavin and Michael yell at each other going through some of their games, which we're going to steal at some point and play through a Let's Play of something and yell at each other. And it's going to be a good time, I'm sure, for you guys.
Yeah. I will also... they did also release a lot of information about the next patch for Diablo 3, which they are... I'm surprised they're releasing this much content and not just trying to craft a new expansion at this point. Because patch 2.4 has like 2 different new zones, a whole bunch of new they're going to have challenge dungeons for item sets now. The amount of content they announced for patch 2.4 almost feels like they should have, made a bit more story and just did a second expansion to Diablo 3. I'm not complaining, mind you, because it'll be free content instead of, $50, but it's like, damn, and might be something I do too when that new season starts, is I might stream a little bit of that too. So, that'll be interesting to see. I'm no Datmods or, Quinn69, I'm no, hardcore Diablo streamer, but, it'll be a fun time to play. So, that is about going to do it for this episode. As always, we'll have Mario Maker Mondays coming out on Mondays. We will have our Twitch streams, which will hopefully be getting back to a regular schedule here as soon as I get my internet 100% squared away. Posts, blogs, and whatnot as soon as we can kind of get them interested, or get them interested. Wow, that certainly was a sentence of the English language that I just uttered.
The blogs will never be interested.
Yeah.
Interesting, maybe.
Yes. As soon as we figure out something we are interested in writing about, we will sporadically blog. We're always we're always open to, if Sean asks us to do 4-player co-op, we always try to do it. I'm going to try to be a bit more active in top 5s. I know I've been terrible about that, but you just did a view from the backlog. I've got a couple simmering. So we're going to try to pick up the pace here as we get into the holiday season, which is always the best time to pick up the pace on creative projects. Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So, backlogbusting.com, at backlogbusting on Twitter, Backlog Busting Project on Facebook, Backlog Busting on Twitch. You know where to find us. Keep your eyes out. And until next time, as Will Wheaton once said, play more games.
I'm going to. Fallout 4, here I come!
Why are you already putting the Pip-Boy on? Jesus.